Welcome to another edition of Daily Airline News, focusing on the search for MH370. I'm Jeffrey Thomas and delighted to say once again, joined by Richard Godfrey, the UK aerospace engineer, who has taken Whisper technology, worked on it, perfected a new way of locating aircraft, and thus MH370. Good evening or good morning, Richard.
Yeah, good evening to you.
And as usual, you're going to take us through the what Armada 7806 is up to.
Yeah, Armada 7806 is still working in the second survey area. The second survey area is much more compact than the first one, and the AUV missions are much shorter. We can follow Armada 7806 in some detail, and we note each time it stops at a particular location, and especially when it stops for a period more than 30 minutes and maybe up to 90 minutes, because this gives us a clue where it may be launching or recovering an AUV, and AUV operations are likely to be taking place. So, for example, yesterday, Armada 7806 stopped at around 5:21 UTC in the morning. The ship was at a standstill for over an hour at a particular location. And we're showing you the screenshot of that location. And I decided to take a closer look at that particular location and comparing the position of Armada 7806 on the 15th of March at 5:21 UTC in relation to the track of Go Phoenix back on the 21st of January 2015. Fugro Supporter on the 27th of January 2015, Fugro Discovery on the 24th of February 2015, and Seabed Constructor, the Ocean Infinity ship, on the 28th of January 2018. And it becomes quite apparent that Ocean Infinity are filling in gaps in previous searches in that case and in other cases where they've executed launch and recovery of AUVs.
Fascinating stuff, Richard. Now, I noticed on your website there was a comment left, and it asked the question: is it possible, in your opinion, to further enhance Whisper predictions? Perhaps you can talk to that.
Yes, indeed, it is possible. And when others look at the data, they look at it differently, they come up with different answers, different ideas. For example, the team at Liverpool University under Professor Simon Maskell, there are a number of members of that team, and they are research experts, data scientists. They're used to Whisper data analysis. There are PhD students and postdoctoral researchers in that team, and it's a joy to work with them because they continually ask very good questions, and they continually come up with new ideas, and they not only look at the MATLAB data and the source code that I'm working with, but they produce their own system with a big data computer and a whole network of computers involved. They have much more computing power available to them than I do. So I completely agree with the comment. It's very important, and I try to share my code and data with as many people as possible.
Yeah, fascinating. And look, overnight you shared with me a really poignant email from a gentleman at Boeing, and I'm wondering if you can share that with the viewers. I was really touched by it.
Yeah, a guy called Dave York, which just he works for Boeing on the 777, and nearly every day he walks past a pristine flaperon on the way to where he works. And every time he passes the flaperon, he thinks about MH370. And he says, there's not a day that passes where I do not spend significant time thinking about the doomed flight. And I know the case inside out as well as any of us can. And he goes on, I have particular disdain for the charlatans who have preyed upon the families of all 239 souls that were lost. The shameless grifts from fabricating and then pushing a pair of videos purporting to show the government zapping MH370 out of the night sky, or purporting Russian GRU agents commandeered the flight and flew it to Kazakhstan. He said, I really wish that certain people were able to divorce their radical left ideology from their work as a journalist. So you see, even experts have feelings and strong views.
Yes, in fact, I've walked the production line numerous times at Boeing, and indeed, as you look at all the Boeing 777s being put together, you look at those flaperons and the other flap that was found as well, and you are taken to that particular tragedy. So if you do it every day, it would really have an impact on you. Now we're beginning some great questions. We've had them from Serbia, Tunisia, Victoria in Canada, all over the world. And I've got some here for you, Richard. I hope you are ready for these. It says, I've been watching for about 3 months, so forgive me if this has been covered previously. I realize this is an academic question, but if you have a slow day, perhaps this would be something to cover. In view of the slow speed of an AUV and the various locations, would it not be better to have a submarine towing a magnetic anomaly equipment behind it? Um, he suggests it would cover a large area much more quickly. Would that work?
Well, it's a great idea, but unfortunately, I don't think it would work. Um, they haven't used submarines towing equipment, but they have used in the past what is called deep tow equipment. So that's not dragged by a submarine, but by the ship on the surface. The problem with that, the deep tow vehicle is connected to the ship, and they have to be careful on terrain avoidance because the only method they've got to raise the deep tow vehicle or to lower it is to either pull in the cable or let out the cable. So it's
Mm,
very difficult to maintain the deep tow vehicle at a level, say, 100 meters above the seabed. And when you've got very difficult terrain, as you have in the Indian Ocean in many places, then I don't think it'd be quicker. An AUV is goes at about 4 knots. An ROV moves around at about zero point 0.5 of a knot. Deep tow vehicle will obviously the ship will move at a speed of around 2 knots in order to be able to control the cable and alter in good time. So AUVs are quicker.
okay. John Clegg asks, does sonar equipment have any detrimental effect on the wildlife?
No, it's nice question and to be concerned for the wildlife. For example, we can pick up whales. They sing to each other underwater, and I'm sure the whales can pick up the sonar
Mm,
systems. So, because they're listening underwater. And there's no evidence, to my knowledge, that these sonar signals or the whale signals that we hear are anyway detrimental to these creatures in the deep.
Yep. Now, Mike also asks a very good question, and that is has anybody checked the swell at the time of the loss of MH370, and suggesting if there was a strong cold front going through, a big swell would actually move as the debris sank. It would actually move at quite a distance from the actual impact point. Has any work been done on that at all, Richard?
Yeah, there has. We looked at both the wave height and the swell duration. The data is now no longer available online going back to 2014, but we did capture that data at the time. As is typical for the Indian Ocean, in that area, which where we assume MH370 would have crashed, there was waves around 3 meters wave height and quite a swell with a long period. So yes, any floating debris on the surface would have been carried really quickly by the currents and by the wind and by eddies. And when items of debris sink, basically the heavier they are, the more vertically they sink in the water. So lighter weight items could move quite a distance on the path, traveling down to the seabed floor.
And talking about the seabed floor, Jeff asks the question, what size objects are these AUVs capable of finding? And talking about, little small ones. And also, how capable are they of differentiating small objects from the jagged randomness of the ocean floor?
That's a very good question. And the answer is quite long and complicated, so bear with me for a moment. The Huygens 6000 AUV has multiple sensors on board. It looks directly underneath it with one kind of sonar sensor. It looks either side of its path with another kind of sonar sensor. It also has a camera on board, so it can take pictures. Now, when the sonar systems are operating, a Huygens 6000 is typically 40 meters above the sea floor and typically can look 300 meters either side of it. It can look a bit further, but they like to have an overlap between one pass and the next. Imagine if you're mowing the lawn, you go up and down and up and down. And so they have an overlap between the two paths. They can detect with the high SAS 1032 sonar objects down to a size of 4 centimeters by 4 centimeters,
Wow.
which is very small. Of course, that can degrade if the height above the seabed floor is not maintained, or the speed is not maintained, or the surface is of the seafloor is very rugged and difficult. But it is up to 4 centimeter by 4 centimeter, and the wider looking sonar systems used, for example, in the bathymetric surveys in back in 2014 to 2015, they went down to a resolution of better than 1 meter by 1 meter. So if you consider the wingspan of a Boeing 777 is 60 meters, then you can see there is a small chance of missing anything of interest, but there is also a high chance of seeing the wreckage that we're wanting to see. And just to give you an idea of the amount of data that's flowing, back in 2014, they were collecting around 6 gigabytes a day. Now, a single AUV will produce about 132 gigabytes of data a day. So you can see why it takes a lot of experts a lot of time to go through all the data and check it out.
It's clearly a quantum leap forward in technology, isn't it?
Yeah, technology is moving forward all the time, and Ocean Infinity upgrading their technology all the time. For
Mm.
example, they have a fleet of 15 of AUVs. They spent $9 million just upgrading the battery in each of the AUVs because they wanted to be able to stay down longer. They can stay up to 96 hours before they need a change of battery.
Impressive stuff. So that's all the questions we've got today, Richard. So once again, sincere thanks for your research and your analysis of exactly what's going on. And to viewers, thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to us, please like us, and please do keep those questions coming. They're fantastic. And thank you also to the other viewers who are answering quite a few on our behalf, which is great. We've got some real experts out there. And please do stay tuned in tomorrow for another update on the search for MH370. It's getting very exciting. Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.